Have we started, Hunter? Have we started? Did you get that text off in time? I think we started.
Prepping for my remarks.
Prepping for your remarks. Hunter's planning the sales meeting. It sounds like you got some good stuff today. I just looked at some of your things, so I'm excited. How's everybody doing? Y'all good? What's new? Third week of 2020? I guess we're just finishing up the second week. No, finishing up the third week.
Our third sales meeting.
Ooh, all right, coffee time. So MLK Day was yesterday.
Yeah.
That was great, and there's a lot of good Martin Luther King quotes, but I thought this was good. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter.
Like
It's a good reminder.
So
Stick up for what matters.
Last night I was watching the famous "I Have a Dream" speech that was. It occurred with the March on Washington. I think it was 1963, but it's kind of a fascinating story. I really encourage everyone to go watch it. It's like 15 minutes, the entire speech. So you don't have time to play it here, but so there's this story about. So it's this big speech, March on Washington, huge thing, and so like Martin Luther King and 7 other of his leaders, they got together the night before to get a bunch of remarks together to make sure the speech was, cohesive and included everything they wanted to say. And so one guy was responsible for putting all those remarks together, getting the speech kind of out to the press and in advance. And so if you watch the speech, Martin Luther King, the first 5 or 8 minutes, he's looking down at his notes a lot. He's reading, the prepared remarks from the night before, and then someone in the crowd says, "Tell him about the dream. Tell him about the dream." And apparently he had referenced this in previous speeches before, but at that point, after an applause line or something, you see him kind of shift, and for about the next, equal amount of time, 5 or 10 minutes, he doesn't look at his notes again, and it's not the speech that they had written the night before, but
Wow.
He talks about, I have a dream one day, and goes, so I really encourage you to, if you hadn't watched it all the way through, just spend 15 minutes and see if you can see that transition. It's pretty powerful.
That's pretty awesome. That can sometimes go the other way too.
Yeah, I've been there.
When people go off script,
Should have stayed on
you
script.
hear the speech order, and you're like, "Oh no, what's going on?"
You might not be Martin Luther King.
Oh, yeah. I like my script. So this is we've read this before, but I wanted to just read this one more time because I think this is a good reminder. It's a good start to the year. This is if you've been through ninja selling, you've read this. But honey, you want to read the first paragraph, and I'll read the second one.
Sure. Mastery in one's career and consciousness growth simply requires that we constantly produce results beyond and out of the ordinary. Mastery is a product of consistently going beyond our limits. For most people, it starts with technical excellence in a chosen field and a commitment to that excellence. If you're willing to commit yourself to excellence, to surround yourself with things that represent this and miracles, your life will change. When we speak of miracles, we speak of events or experiences in the real world which are beyond the ordinary.
It's remarkable how much mediocrity we live with, surrounding ourselves with daily reminders that the average is the acceptable. Our world suffers from terminal normality. Take a moment to assess all of the things around you that promote you being average. These are the things that keep you powerless to go beyond a limit you arbitrarily set for yourself. The first step to mastery is the removal of everything in your environment that represents mediocrity, removing those things that are limiting. One way is to surround yourself with friends who ask more of you than you do. Didn't some of your best teachers, coaches, and parents, etc., do that? Is there anything just for y'all, either in the chat or around in here, what jumps out at you in there? Surround yourself with the right people, yeah. That's what your parents told you when you were kids, right? Hunter's parents never told him that, but he just managed to be okay. Yeah, I think one was, what jumped out at me, every time I read this, something else jumps out, but today it was a commitment to that excellence. And if you're willing to commit yourself to excellence, to surround yourself with things that represent this in miracles, your life will change. And just that commitment, we talk about consistency a lot, right? A commitment to consistency. So I think that's really, really valuable. These themes just show up over and over and over again in everything we look at. And it's, when you finally see them all, it's the light bulb that's like, oh, they're all saying a lot of the same things, and it's what attributes to being successful. So anyway, I'll send that out. Oh, we're not done. Sorry.
Yeah.
Another step on the path of mastery is the removal of resentment toward masters. Develop compassion for yourself so that you can be in the presence of masters and grow from the experience. Rather than comparing yourself and resenting people who have mastery, remain open and receptive. Let the experience be like the planting of a seed within you that, with nourishment, will grow into your own individual mastery. You see, we are all ordinary.
This is my paragraph.
Go ahead.
You see, we are all ordinary, but a master, rather than condemning himself for his ordinariness, will embrace and use it as a foundation for building the extraordinary. Rather than using it as an excuse for inactivity, he will use it as a vehicle for correcting, which is essential in the process of attaining mastery. You must be able to correct yourself without invalidating or condemning yourself, to accept results and improve upon them. Correct, don't protect. Correction is essential to power and mastery.
That's awesome. So this idea of correction, I read a book this weekend called Atomic Habits. Sam Logan mentioned it to me, and it's been on my list, and it was just carved out some time and just plowed through it. But it was really good. And one of the things that he said, if you have, we're talking about goals, and we're going to talk about this a little bit, but he said if you are an airline pilot and you leave Los Angeles and you're trying to get to New York, if you aim your plane just 3.5 degrees the wrong way, which that's about 7 feet in the nose of a plane, you're going to end up about 230 miles away or a few hundred miles away in DC.
Yeah.
Right? And so the idea is that you might end up inadvertently heading to DC, but your goal is New York, and so just that correction, it's like when we're steering, that constant just correcting. So we all have goals, but we got to correct a little bit along the way, and it's really the process that's more important than the goal. I'll talk about this a little bit in a minute, but he actually talks about how goals are bad,
Really?
which is fascinating. So more to come. You have anything you're grateful for today?
Oh yeah, I got a lot. One, just to mention, really grateful for our mentor program that we've revamped over the last year with Brent Cooper, and it's been so successful. Just him investing in many of our new agents, and we don't have a goal to bring on just a ton of new agents, but we do get people that are attracted to Village for whatever reason, and if they're full-time and have a lot of the qualities that we like to see in agents, we'd love to have them join us. But getting them off on the right foot is really important. Brent dedicates a lot of his time to doing that, and we've recently that we've added Virginia Rogan.
Virginia Rogan.
Both of them.
Y'all all know Virginia. I want to talk about consistency. I love coming to the office. I was here on Sunday. Joseph, Virginia Rogan, there's just the regulars. It's the regular people that are just plowing away. And I know a lot of y'all are doing that at home too. So it's.
But those two for new agents, can you imagine a better, mentor to have?
Incredible.
Young, both.
I kind of want to go through it. I want to be a mentee.
You can't.
I'd love it.
For you, Zach.
Definitely. Put on a disguise. What about y'all? Y'all anything you're grateful for today? This week? Somebody's got something.
I'm grateful for my neighbors because they wash my dog often during the week.
Your neighbors wash your dog?
Wash.
Oh, wash. Okay. Can you ask them to wash Kevin as well?
They actually do sometimes.
They do.
Yes.
They're like, we were watching Kevin and started to smell.
Kevin, the dog.
Washed him. So that's good. Anybody else?
Will Reynolds cutting up with him in the mornings, right?
Joseph is hanging out with Will Reynolds, bringing in chicken biscuits again.
You gotta have some way for people to like you.
One benefit coming by the office.
That's right.
Bit of chicken.
That's right. Chicken biscuits. Making friends one chicken biscuit at a time. Well, that's awesome. Oh, Hunter, I actually forgot about this slide. This was from last week. But how are they coming?
So they're coming along. I'm up to 41.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's really good. All right, so your goal is 100 push-ups by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So you're up to 41.
I'm up to 41.
So is that kind of like your baseline now?
That's my what do you mean? Yeah.
Like that's like as many as you can do
Yeah, I like
without
hurt
screaming.
myself like.
Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that. That's awesome. Have you thought through like a process of what your system is to increase?
Yeah, so right now I'm doing, I'm still building my base, I guess. And then once a week I'll do kind of a max to see where I stand.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it with I got a 13-year-old son who's into it, so we're kind of doing it together.
Ooh, an accountability partner.
Accountability partner, yeah.
That's really good. It's really important.
Yeah. It also pairs well with dry January.
Yeah.
With so like late at night you get home and if you've had a couple of beers, you're not going to want to feel like doing push-ups, right? So it's been a good combination. Although next year we may do a dry half January, which would be even better.
That's good.
Making it so far.
I like that. That's awesome. So January education, I'm going to switch screens here. We're going to go to Teddy Pins.
Hello, Village. It's Teddy.
Oh, hold on one second. Let's get some, is our volume? Right there. What's that?
Hello, Village. It's Teddy Pins. And hey, it's January 19th, and I hope you have a nice Martin Luther King Day of Honor, that special day in Phoenix, Indiana. We got an education update for you this week, and you've seen it in the email, hopefully, and on the Facebook exclusive. But you wanted the video version, this is it. Alright, so we've got lots of tools you need to be using, Agent Toolkit, Village, YouTube, all those good things. With classes this week, here's what we got. We got Jumpstart this week. You certainly can be a repeat performer or sit in on some classes. All of the things we're going to cover are in the calendar with the link, so take a look at that. If you want to participate, please sign up and register, and that's in Facebook exclusive and in the email and all the things. Wednesday, we've got Thrive, which is at 9 o'clock. We do that every week. It's pretty awesome. We're going to reflect, connect, and set. So reflect on good news, gratitude, and grace. We're going to connect on Tales from the Trenches and hot real estate topics, and then we're going to set mindset for the week. So it is it's a goodie, and this week we're going to also talk about your word for the year. And Thursday we've got pricing pros. That's 9 o'clock to 9:30, 9:45-ish. You want to get sharp on your CMA skills with details on that in the education email. This week we're going to have contract changes. So Colin's going to be leading us through what are the updates to the contract, and that's on Thursday at 10:30 on Zoom. And then the State of the Union has been moved, and so we've got an amazing event coming up for Hunter, Zach, and some of the leadership team. We're going to review the State of the Union of the Village, our SWOT analysis, and what we're up to and what we're doing. That's going to be February 9th at 10:30. Good? All right, well, that's it for the week. You want the tech tip. You know what? This tech tip thing. Y'all create some work for me, so please send me some great tech tips that you'd like me to share with others. This week's about AirPods. AirPods, we all got them, or you want them, or you have them, or your kids saw them, or they got stuck in the vacuum. But here's the deal on AirPods. You can use Find My AirPods, and Sarah will play a loud tone from your earbud to help you find them. I should have known this because I think I lost a pair or two over the years. Secondly, that wasn't enough. You want another tip? Okay, here's the deal. If you're traveling, you can pair 2 pairs of AirPods and other Bluetooth-related ear equipment to one phone. It's pretty cool for traveling. You don't need the old school splitter and grown up way. You can pair 2. I'm not going to get full instruction on that. I recommend you Google. Watch out for this guy. Keep safe. Love each other. Get your pets here. And we'll see you in the education drive. Hope to see you Jumpstart on Wednesday. Thrive on Wednesday. Thank y'all. Honored to do what I do. Take Pins.
Oh man, never gets old. So
No, you could pair 2.
I had no. That was. I know a lot of his tech tips. That was no idea.
So
next time you're not on an airplane?
I could watch a movie, with a friend on the airplane, and we could each have AirPods connected to the same device.
That's what it sounds like.
That's beautiful. All right. Could be fake news.
Could be fake
Something
news.
about that.
So a few things. I want to just hit on a couple things again. So Jumpstart, obviously, I think everybody's who's planning on being in Jumpstart is going to be in that awesome program. The broker team has really worked on getting this better and better every time. So you're welcome to chime in if you're experienced on various days if you need a refresher. But also for new agents, definitely make sure you're attending Jumpstart. And this Pricing Pros class, this is kind of a series that we're doing, and I've heard a lot of good things. So if you don't know about it, talk to Rebecca Cooper or Teddy. But it's a good program. A lot of good feedback coming in on that. And then really important, our contract. We live and die by our contract. We don't live and die by our contract, but your business basically lives and dies by your contract. And so make sure it changes every year. There's a new contract. There are some changes. There's other forms that have changed. Please, please, please make sure that you tune in at 10:30 on Thursday and bring your contract questions. Ideally, read the contract, read the purchase and sale agreement, the new one, beforehand. Well, you mentioned this yesterday. What's the best when you have a question about what to do in a certain deal? What's the first?
Read the contract.
Read the contract. That's right.
RTFC.
RTFC. Read the stinking contract. So 9 times out of 10, the answer is right there. But make sure you do that. So Lee, you want to come up and talk about awards of excellence? So this is Greater Nashville Realtors, WCAR.
Everybody. So we're going to talk about a millennial's favorite thing, and that is a trophy. And so awards of excellence are live with Greater Nashville Realtors. It is paid for by Village. So naturally, part of our business is to promote ourselves kind of ad nauseum. So at least this is somebody else promoting you, and you don't have to promote yourself because we're going to do an ad in the Business Journal. There'll be a live broadcast. It's going to be a little bit different, obviously, because we can't get 700 people in the Omni this year. So it's going to be all broadcasted live, but you still get your trophy. A tip, though, if you are working both sides of the deal and there's not another agent involved, make sure you put your name as the listing and selling agent. I know that sounds weird, but you'll get double volume and double the transaction. So the only time you ever use non-MLS is when there is literally an agent that's not a member of our MLS. So did not know that.
That is a really good tip.
Because that has made people move from this ranking into the next one. So it's really important. But all you need is your NERDS number, NERDS, which you can find on the back of your Realtor magazine.
On the back of your Realtor magazine, or I learned yesterday, if you log into WCAR or GreaterNashvilleRealtors.org,
it's right there.
It should be right there. Like once you log in, it should be right there on the front page.
Yeah. It's really easy. All you do is download your production numbers from the MLS, upload it in the system. If you have any off-market sales or anything, you input those, and that's it. Really
A lot of times the brokers have tried to help do it for people in years past.
Yeah.
We can't do that this year because it's all online. You have to do it through your account. So
Be brave.
Be
I
brave.
believe in y'all. I think you can do it, but
excuse me.
but definitely do it. Let's show them what Village does on awards.
That's awesome. So Lee, real quick, just East Office. Tell us.
Awesome. We've
what's new?
updated some things, changed some stuff around, but we're there. Me and Bill are there every day. We've got agents coming by, so if you're on the east side, you'll probably hear Britney Spears jamming in the kitchen. That's where I am. I don't
There you
know. So feel free to come over and hang out. So
Well, thank you.
thank you.
All right. It'll be fun. All right, Hunter, what do we got here?
Oh, we got a lot. All right. So we talked about this last time, and Lee mentioned fake news. The one way, next slide. The one way we want to avoid getting taken by and sucked into fake news is by having a balanced news diet, right? And so this is, I think, a helpful slide.
It's like the news triangle.
Showing-
News triangle, pyramid.
Yeah, so showing kind of left-leaning, right-leaning sources, and our goal, remember, is not just to stay in the center necessarily, but to, sample, because you can have, I got a friend I like, smart, they say one thing, I have another friend, smart, they say something completely different. it's like, where are these people getting this stuff? And I think if you just kind of sample one segment of the pie, you can kind of find yourself on the wrong side. So encourage you, kind of as we talk about news, make sure you're getting kind of a balanced news diet. And thought this slide was helpful.
So there's nothing. This is just left versus right. Nothing vertical.
Yeah. So all sides media just yes, kind of left versus right. And they take. They have a whole system for how they come up with categorizing it. Anyway,
That's fascinating.
thought it was helpful.
Very cool.
We talked about this a little bit during the pandemic. Just how, a lot of times when you have a blackout or a storm or something like that, and people are locked in their houses for a while, you'll have a kind of a birth boom, a baby boom 9 months later. And so with the lockdown last year, people were predicting this, and I think we even joked about in the sales meeting, like the only birth boom that's going to happen in 9 months from being locked down with virtual school and everything else going on is going to be only children, because you're not going to add like another baby into like that toddler crazy lockdown.
That's fascinating. Yeah. So it's like.
So it turns out this year we're expecting 500,000 fewer babies in the U.S. And China and kind of across the world is the same thing. China's down 8%, which is a big drop for China.
More free birth control. Try homeschool.
Yeah, so just kind of an interesting. What will that do to certain economic sectors that rely on babies for their products or whatever? I thought that was kind of
Interesting.
Market, this is year-to-date numbers in the markets. We started over, had a great, strong performance last year, kind of pretty much flat so far this year. Good news on the COVID side. As of yesterday, hospitalizations are finally starting to trend downward a little bit, so that's good news, and just got to get the vaccine rolling out more efficiently.
My wife's getting her second dose this week.
Oh, she's a healthcare
healthcare
worker.
worker, so yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so this I thought was interesting. A bunch of banks reported their numbers last week, their kind of earnings numbers. Mm-hmm. And banks are just kind of generally important for the overall economy. Reminded me, you remember Jesse James, the famous outlaw from the 1800s, Jesse James?
I was actually wondering if you were going to say this. I was reading your mind. Why do you rob banks, Jesse James?
Because that's where the money is.
That's where the money is.
Right, that's his famous quote.
It seems so logical.
So why do we track banks? It's because it's kind of gives you a sense of how the overall economy. If the banks are really struggling, then there's a good chance that the overall economy is struggling. So they reported earnings last week. It was a weird year for banks last year. You had the pandemic, but then you also had kind of this. I mean, we talk about it every week. The mortgage boom, low interest rates, everyone refinancing. Well, guess who benefits from that? Banks, right? They also had some successful IPOs and investment banking deals like DoorDash, Airbnb, companies like that. So they did pretty well on the investment front, boosting kind of their underwriting revenue. And then also because of the pandemic, they had set aside all of these kind of rainy day funds for, just kind of with the expectation that a lot of small businesses were going to default.
Default to be slow.
Mm-hmm. And so they had set aside huge default provisions, and basically that hadn't turned out to be as bad as they were fearing it would be. And so now they're starting to pare those back. You've got the possibility for more pandemic funding coming down the pipe. So they're feeling motivated to get back on track for 2021. It's kind of a healthy sign for the overall economy.
That's good. Sounds like that's actually like everything you described is kind of a good plan for individuals too.
Yeah.
Save for a rainy day.
Save for a rainy day.
Right?
Yeah.
Think ahead.
Exactly. So saw this headline and just want to remind you, we'll see headlines. This was one, but headlines in general and news in general oftentimes is just to get you to click, and so bad news will sell better. And this is kind of, I guess you could be considered bad news, but this is coming out of December's numbers being down a little bit, and that's just month over month data, which means something we know as realtors that fewer people want to move
Right.
November, December during the holidays versus kind of in the summer and kind of once school is kind of getting started. So
Does anybody find value in month-over-month data? There's a little value in there, but
Yeah.
year-over-year data
Year-over-year
is
is much
always,
more important.
comparing apples to apples.
And so also it kind of the next slide, just you're starting to hear people say like, you see data or see headlines like the previous slide, and then like, are we headed for a housing bubble? Especially when you look kind of at the far right side of this slide here, where you've kind of got an upward, drastically upward trend. And so, so I think there's 3 reasons why.
So
We're
just
not-
real quick, these shaded parts, the Fed always does graphs like this where they'll shade the recessions.
Okay.
But recessions are always, to me, it feels weird. Like they ended the last recession before 2010, and I thought it was like that was like the bottom of it for, at least in the real estate world, it felt like it. But the way they calculate when a recession is, so.
So this obviously this price is going back from 1987 all the way through today. And anyway, so 3 reasons that I think these are going to be easy to remember if you have clients asking like, I'm not sure I want to buy now because I'm worried it's going to be a big bubble. Number 1, could you have a kind of this mass default on people's mortgages, which would throw a lot of supply into the market, people selling at values. We saw that kind of the 08, 09 crash or recession. And so the reason why I don't think that's going to happen, I think the Fed and just kind of the government is all over this, kind of the forbearance schedule and mortgage forbearance. And so Biden's already saying he's going to extend it to September of this year.
Okay.
And so that should give the economy plenty of time. I just think they're going to be very in tune to kind of your mom and pop individual homeowner not losing their home because of a crazy pandemic.
Yeah.
So I think that one feels pretty safe. This is pretty important. This is demographic data and basically what it's showing is we've got a really good, between now and 2024, a really good demographic housing situation where the number of 20 to 35 and even in that 50 category is really huge. So I don't necessarily, I'm not saying this is going to cause prices to continue to race forward, but in the worst case, I think it would be kind of a sticky replacement demand for any softness in the market, just new buyers coming into the market consistently over the next few
All right, so real quick, so just so I know what I'm looking at here, because I like graphs. So the left side is age, and then it goes. It's a different style axis, but I guess just compare the two. But that's population? So there's 2.
So basically, the wider
2 million,
the wider the more.
There's about 2.5 million 25-year-olds.
Yeah.
3 million 25. Okay, got it. Makes sense.
And then finally, I think this is one of the strongest arguments on the next slide.
Females live longer. Just noticed that.
What's that?
Females live longer.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they do. And then finally, this last slide, and I think one of the strongest arguments is the health of the overall current mortgage holder, or who's getting a mortgage in a certain year. So if you look back, where we really had trouble was kind of that 07 time frame, which was kind of right in here.
So right in the Q107 range?
Q107, and look how big the dark blue at the bottom and then all the way up through the gray. That's as your credit score is lower, that's kind of the bottom, and then you got the orange and then the gray.
So a much higher percentage of the mortgages were with subprime, low credit scores
versus
back then.
now
It's hardly at all.
Q1, 2020. Look at our credit quality. Just
Yeah, that's
how much
fascinating.
that
Even like
light
03, 4, 5, you think of like, subprime being primarily kind of 06, 07, but
Yeah, it was-
obviously there's stuff leading up to it. But
It was about a 8 to 10 years.
And really, on the flip side, look at the 760 and up. The last few years, that's been taller than it's ever been.
You're right.
So it's impressive.
That's all national data, right, Ryan?
Yes.
Well, and we'll send this stuff out too. This is fascinating.
Yeah. So again, those are just the 3 reasons. You got, I think forbearance will be good. You got strong demographics, and then the health of the overall borrower is really strong. So why we're not having a bubble, I think those 3 reasons.
Yeah, and we need more inventory. We can all go out and get more listings. Everybody go out and get 1 listing this week. If we can do that, we'll have more to sell, and then we'll be stable.
Okay, first 100 days of office, President-elect Biden will be inaugurated tomorrow. And his chief of staff, Ron Klain, outlined some of his plans over the weekend for the first 100 days. He's kind of got a couple of different things. One is to undo some of the most controversial policies of the last 4 years, which would include scrapping the travel ban on the majority Muslim countries, rejoining the Paris Agreement, and establishing a path of citizenship for undocumented immigrants, and then also canceling the Keystone XL pipeline on his first day. So those are kind of, not that he can get all of those done right away. I'm sure he's going to need some legislation on a number of them, but those are his priorities for one theme. And then the second theme will be just addressing the pandemic, which would include a mask mandate for all interstate travel and all federal property, and then a push for kind of a big round of stimulus, which should be coming. And the stimulus, I wanted to go through, I got this from Marcus Millichat, kind of the stimulus is looking like it's going to include several things. One is this $300 a week for up to 11 weeks of supplemented unemployment. The second one is just another round of, you've heard of the PPP, which is the Paycheck Protection program. And so another round of that for troubled small businesses. And then finally, you've got kind of the entertainment sector has really been hurt, so you've got money for that, as well as a big dose for the transportation on the next slide, just kind of transportation airline industry. And then finally, rental assistance. So extend the moratorium of rental evictions by another month. And then the transportation.
Got it.
So Marcus Millichat, they say, what's the, how does this apply to real estate? Marcus Millichat is a big commercial real estate firm. And so taxes is a big part of that. And so one big question that's getting bounced around is, will there be a big tax increase either in the rate or the capital gains rate, or things like the 1031 exchange, which people can use to exchange one type of real estate for one property for another without paying taxes. He campaigned on doing a lot of that, and what Marcus Millichat and their political advisors are saying, that really the division that there's 50-50 tie in the Senate. That's if 2 independents that normally caucus with the Democrats vote with the Democrats. It's 50-50 tie. Obviously, the vice president would break any tie, but just that narrow margin to get everyone agreeing on a tax policy like that would be difficult. And so they're thinking he's going to more focus on easier wins this year, like the pandemic, and make sure the economy's growing and getting through this round. So who knows? But thought that was interesting. He also went to say, because of this, that the investment outlook for real estate is really promising. Healthy monetary policy, good vaccination program, which will be kind of flowing through this year. That should be good for overall real estate investments.
Yeah, it's just a little plug too. We have something called the RPAC, right? Realtor Political Action Committee. That's a really good use of investing some additional funds. There are a lot of big supporters in this company, and even more little supporters. So even if you're just given a little amount, participation is important, and that goes directly to helping basically influence and educate, I would say more educate our political system or our politicians in terms of what is important for like you said, kind of the mom and pop homeowner, right? What's important for housing needs? Flood insurance was about to go away. That would affect, that would be disastrous for a lot of houses if you couldn't get flood insurance. So you wouldn't be able to sell one of those houses. A lot of good stuff there. So make sure you're trying to donate a little bit to that.
Okay.
Bitcoin.
So I highlighted this. I mean, I just mentioned this a few years. I got some pushback from some agents, like, "Why are you hacking on Bitcoin? Like, it's good." And so I've done a little research on it. So Bitcoin, I don't know if you know, like last March, so like 9 months ago, 8 months ago, 10 months ago, Bitcoin was 5,000, and now it's right around $40,000.
In how many months?
For one Bitcoin, in like 10 months. So it's like it's going crazy. But
Wow.
So my suggestion like a couple of weeks ago was like, hey, all these high flying stocks, cryptocurrencies, like a lot of small investors are like pouring their savings into it. Just be real careful because it's volatile. And I didn't say that it was going down. I was saying be careful, and I stand by that. But anyway, I have because
Diversification is good.
yeah, well, I have like looked into it and just like what's going on with why is Bitcoin so popular? Some of these cryptocurrencies, and this article kind of came up. So this is Switzerland's largest bank, UBS.
Right.
They announced last week that they would be charging clients 0.75% for their deposits. So unlike, we give our money to the bank and kind of expect them to pay, even if it's a small percentage. In Switzerland, it's going to be the opposite. You're going to have to pay the bank to take your money. And so kind of what's going on there is really a direct consequence of just these massive low interest rates that are going on. It's not just in the U.S., but even more so worldwide. Even our U.S. rates are even, the rate that the U.S. government pays in a lot of cases is higher than other countries, and it just kind of attracts more and more investment. But you've got this situation that because of things like the stimulus packages, trillions of dollars that we're borrowing to pay out, that's got to be paid back in loans, right? And so if those interest rates go from 2% to 4%, like what's happened? It's doubled the cost of borrowing, which makes it really hard to like balance your budget, right? So they're probably going to print more money, and so people that have that feeling are like, I need to find a more stable store of value than, just dollars that could be devalued by a government. So they're pouring into Bitcoin.
That's fascinating.
As a store. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting and worth considering. I think a lot of people are pouring money into Bitcoin pure speculation because they want it to go from 5,000 to 40,000, 40,000 to 100,000, but some people have a more pure motive, just like, hey, I don't want to be, reliant on, the politicians making decisions about how much money supply is going up. Thought that was interesting. And then this next article was, don't forget, if you do buy Bitcoin, don't forget your password, because this guy.
No.
Yes. So he stored his Bitcoin.
Oh my! This gives me like so much anxiety.
Yes.
What?
Stored his Bitcoin on this little thumb drive called Iron Key, and then subsequently wrote down his password somewhere and lost it. It's a pretty complex password. And so he has $260 million worth of Bitcoin. He bought it, years and years ago. He's a programmer and all of this, and he's tried his password. He gets 10 tries before it locks and is completely encrypted forever, and he loses. He's tried 8 passwords. So he's got 2 left.
Where does it go? So it's just then it's just nobody. It doesn't go to somebody.
Gone.
So it's the whatever thumb drive. It's a thumb drive problem, not a Bitcoin problem.
Yeah.
He got too secure of a thumb drive.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He stored it, and a lot of people.
See, life in the real estate business isn't that stressful.
Yeah, nearly 20% of all Bitcoin, they say, is likely lost forever in situations just like this. Now, probably not as bad as this poor guy who knows it. He actually has the thumb drive. He just can't open it. And he says he sits up. He'll sit up at night and be like, oh, maybe it's, mother's maiden name, capitalized, exclamation, like he's just going back through like all of his systems for like coming up with passwords, and he's pretty much hopeless at this point.
All right.
But he's all right overall. He's done well in other areas, so he'll be fine. But it's pretty brutal. 266 million.
Oh, wow.
Oh, this is, I thought, pretty helpful for us, and kind of not just because the Titans are redoing their lease. That's not that important, although we want that to happen. But just noting where some of the future hotspots for housing will be. Mm-hmm. So the plan is, and the Titans are talking with the city about a plan to make upgrades to Nissan Stadium. And the way they're going to do that is to come up with a plan to redevelop the East Bank neighborhood around the stadium. I don't know if you've walked around there lately, but it's kind of a mix of hodgepodge, kind of industrial. There's some room to grow and improve that area. And so if that happens, if there's they would take the new tax revenue from all that development and use the revenue to pay for the upgrades to the stadium to keep it updated, which I thought was interesting. But then also just like, if you're going to have a ton of capital hitting this one area on the East Bank, just be aware of that. And some of those houses that kind of ring around that area, I mean, even ones that are, half mile, a mile away, will really, I think, benefit from all of this development going on the East Bank.
That's incredible. I mean, obviously, the East Bank, we've heard this, right? The East Bank has been, just redevelopment of that has been discussed for a long, long time. And it has been slowly happening, but there's so much opportunity over there. You got River North, a little bit further north. There's just a lot of new stuff. So.
And then finally, all right, I saw this, 7 must-read real estate books from last year. This guy, Brandon Doyle, who's an author himself, he kind of highlights it. I'm going to give you, I haven't read any of these, but the 3 that looked most
But they got great covers.
The 3 that looked most interesting and I thought might be helpful to your business are the following. One is Selling Through Relationships. Forget the cold calling. The best salespeople build their networks through relationships and genuinely get to know their clients. Talks through that. So that's kind of about authenticity. That's what we are about here. The next one is world-class admin assistants. So it's the in-depth Bible for real estate assistants. So if you are an assistant, or if you're an agent that's looking to add an assistant, or you have one, this is like how to train, how to hire, gives you a bunch of checklists and systems you can implement so you can really get the most out of your admin assistant. And then finally,
What's
we're all kind of like in this social media thing, and you want to add value, you want to have your own voice. So this gives you some good ways to, this real world experience and examples in an easily digestible format, including illustrations and worksheets. And supposedly the person that's reviewing this said they tried it, and their engagement on social media really picked up using some of these techniques. So I thought that might be helpful.
This person who designed the cover studied Wendy Monday's Instagram.
It does look like Wendy.
It's like an opposite of it. But, very good. That was awesome. Thank you. I love that. So the market, we've got interest rates. Connie, you want to come talk about this? Because at first I thought that the ARM was a typo last week and this week, and it's not, right?
No.
So what are we seeing?
Yeah, the 5-year arms are a little wacky right now. So, they actually changed. The arms used to be based on the LIBOR, and now they're on it's the SOFR, SOFR. So it's like the, let me think what it is. Secured, I can't remember exactly.
It's the SOFR.
Anyway, it's the SOFR, yeah. But it's based off of like the sale of the treasuries, the overnight
Right.
funds, that's what it is, overnight
Okay.
financing rates. So, so they're, not that we really have been doing a lot of ARMs anyway, but there's even more reason not to.
But 30-year fixed went down because it had hit 3% last week
Yeah,
for the first time in a while, and so now we're 2.75.
so it's still really good.
So what do I say every single week?
So I got a question. Yeah, low rates.
That's not what I say every week. What do I say every week? Tell your clients.
So talk about
Guys, I'm serious though. Every time I tell somebody about this, I try to tell somebody once a week, and like you have talked to a couple of people who've been like, we need a refinance. It's good.
I didn't mean that.
All right. Come on, Hunter.
Kind of talk about what you're seeing in terms of like, because I've heard and talked to some mortgage people who say that like it's taking people 60 days to close on it, that these loan departments are way backed up. Mm-hmm. Are you still able to get someone closed?
Yeah. We prioritize purchases always ahead of refis. So on our refinances, we are, advising those customers that they're going to be 45 to 60 days. But on purchases, we're still closing in 30 days.
You're still closing in 30 days.
Absolutely.
So what Hunter was saying, in case you couldn't hear online through the mic, is a lot of lenders are because low rates, because of this influx of refinances, doing a 30-day closing is not as easy as it used to be. Doing a 40-day closing is not as easy as it used to be. You're seeing 60 days. So one good reminder is talk to, if you have a listing, make sure when the contract comes in, talk to the lender about that. And then reminder number 2 is send your buyers to Connie or Roger, because it sounds like y'all are getting them done.
Yeah, we really are. We've doubled our business from last year, but we're still able to close those loans in 30 days. I've had a couple that we could do, in a shorter period of time, but that's always a stretch, obviously. I mean, the key is getting documents in from the customer right up front. We really encourage them to send everything in, and to where even if we're not getting those documents from the clients in the first, 3 or 4 days, we're going to reach out to you guys even and let you know, to kind of put pressure on them. Now, there are a couple of exceptions to that. One would be USDA loans. They always are going to take, and they've always taken 45 to possibly 60 days, because it's a completely different system. We have to underwrite it and then send it to them, and we're just, subject to whatever their turn time is. And the other is jumbo. Jumbo loans are just a little different, especially after COVID hit. Jumbo's almost really disappeared, completely.
But you can still do jumbo, right?
We still do jumbo. We still have a couple of investors that we're doing jumbos with, but they do end up stretching that time frame, and we have closed them in 30 days, but that's just where we would want to, advise to, possibly consider a little bit longer on a contract for jumbo.
What are rates on jumbo?
What are rates on jumbo?
They're right about 3% right now, so still really good. Yeah, we
Wow.
were down into the 2s even on the jumbos.
And a jumbo loan is going to be for any home price purchase over loan purchase over what?
Over 586, the loan amount.
Loan amount 586. So if you need a loan for more than 586, you're either doing a jumbo or some combo of a first and a second.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome. Thanks, Connie. All right.
Or not every lender is the same, can get them closed quickly. Not every lender has a relationship with jumbo banks right now, and so the fact that Connie can still hit the timeline if you've got something, and then she can still do kind of what they call a portfolio loan, where it doesn't fit into that Fannie Mae FHA box, but you can still get one closed, like a non-warrantable condo or something weird like that. You can still get it closed. So
Indeed.
she's a good resource for us.
Absolutely. So again, 2.75, 2.125 for 15 years. That's insane.
It's really important to call your clients and tell them that.
Somebody told me that once, and so it's a good reminder to remind your clients, past clients, about the rates. But we talked about this last week. I just wanted to remind you, if you're not posting these are available on the market. Where do I find them? Log into vres-market.com under social media, click on How's the Market. You can click on that and download them there. There's also another spot, and we're going to do a little new series called Navigating Village. We just did kind of a little reorganization of the market a little bit. The market is a really good spot. It's kind of the intranet to access everything. But we have had a lot of effort put in from the brokers, Jeremy, Teddy, to really streamline where you can find things. And so one of those places is in a Google Drive. So you can go to vres-market.com, vres-market.com, click on resources, then scroll down, click on Google Drive, and we have an agent toolkit, and it is loaded up We try to create it in a pretty organizational manner so that you can find what you need there. But if you're looking for the net sheet, there's always something that somebody, I get emails every week saying, hey, you talked about something a while back, or you sent something out by email or whatever. Everything we send is on here. So if you're looking for something, check it out. And you can bookmark that if you want. Cool. There you go. Tips. So we talked about the net sheet. If you didn't see this last week, Lloyd Carney awesomely redesigned our net sheet just a little bit, or the one that I use, and made the title insurance actually super accurate. So for Davidson, Rutherford, and Williamson County. So that's available on that agent toolkit that we just talked about. But real quick, I want to talk about habits when we wrap up. So I just told you I read this book, and I'm going to show you a few quotes, but one was, you don't rise to the level of your goal, you fall to the level of your systems. He really talks about systems. And it reminded me with 40X, and we're about to, as you all know, we're rolling out 40X again soon for the spring. It's all about the lead measures. It's all about the system. It's all about being consistent, right? And he said the problem with goals is winners and losers have the same goals, right? So people, like, nobody says, like, gosh, I want to have a really crappy year this year. I don't think. I mean, that would, you know, so people, everybody wants to do well. Everybody wants to do better. But he said, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. And he spends a lot of time talking about not just doing more and like, I need to make more calls, I need to write more notes, I need to go more preview properties. It's really about transforming your identity of being the type of person that does those things, right? So it's like, I'm the type of person that writes notes. That's just who I am. I like to do it, and I'm the type of person. And it's almost kind of resetting your brain. Maybe it's using the affirmation process, but just making yourself believe that that's the type of person you are. You're the type of person who does push-ups, right? You're not just trying to reach 100 push-ups. You're just the type of person who do push-ups. He said you should be far more concerned with your trajectory, with your current trajectory, than with your current results. Remember that airline analogy, right? Well, we're heading that way, right? Well, we're off just a little bit. Right. If we're not paying attention and correcting, remember, mastery, correct, don't protect. If we're not just constantly just seeing where that trajectory is taking us, then you're going to miss your goal. Yeah. You'll get somewhere. But he said goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. When you fall in love with the process rather than the product, the end, you don't have to wait to give yourself permission to be happy. You can be satisfied anytime your system is running.
That's interesting.
And this is fascinating too, because he talks about goals. You know, people can be a marathon, like, I want to run a marathon. They train, they run the marathon, and then boom, their health goes to crap because they're like, I did it. Now I'm just taking time off, and you know, they were not the type of person who was a runner. Right. They were just the type of person who just wanted to run a marathon, right? So he talks about the habit loop, cue, craving, reward, response, similar to the other book that we wrote. But and I'm going to send these out, but there are a few things. He said, if you're trying to start a new habit, there's 4 laws. 1, make it obvious, right? And he's got some scoreboards and things that you can do to do that. But design your environment to make cues of good habits, right? So if you want to write notes, leave a pen and paper and a stack of notes. He uses a good example. He says, if I leave a plate of cookies on my kitchen counter, I'm going to eat a cookie every single day. If I leave a stack of bananas or apples on my kitchen counter, I'm probably going to eat an apple or a banana every single day, right? You're designing your environment. 2, make it attractive. Use temptation bundling, which he talks about in the book. But again, I'll send you some resources that help explain that. And then he says, make it easy, right? Reduce friction, decrease the number of steps between you and good habits. So, you know, if it's push-ups and you can't ever find a place on the floor to do it, well, clear a place. And maybe it's right by the, you know, in your room, and when you walk in your room, you've got a big open space, or you've got a mat down there. So you see it, it's attractive, and you're like, boom, I got that. Make it satisfying. So give yourself immediate reward when you complete your habit. It talks a lot about reward response and letting yourself enjoy the progress and the journey. So stop an existing habit. He basically says it's just the opposite of those things, right? Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, unsatisfying. So make it invisible, make those cookies disappear. Just a reminder, we talk about this a lot, but the weekly scorecard, this is just an example, real-time real estate example of all of those things. So finding a partner like your son is a good way to do that. 40X, reminder, we're launching this in February. If you're interested, if you don't know what it is, there's a video link on the VRES Market. And
Let's send out the video link.
we'll send out the video link again. But awesome program. We had over 100 people doing it. I think over almost 150 people, agents doing it last time. So
I'm interested. What do I do?
So if you're interested, we're going to send out I will send out a sign up link this week. There we go. Will you hold me to that?
Yes.
Good. All right. Coming soon.villagetn.com. Log in there, send out your coming soons, and we'll send those out later today. And a little sneak peek, we might do a little revamp of this, and you'll learn about that in the next Navigating Village, just to make it easier and more effective.
Awesome.
Do you have any questions, takeaways?
Awards close at 5 p.m. on Friday.
Awards close at 5 p.m. this Friday.
No mercy.
If you turn it in at 5:01, it will not count.
Yeah, literally.
They don't play around.
They do
They
not.
do not play around.
So pretend it's Thursday at 4. All right. Thank you all very much. Go enjoy your day.
Good job, man. 10:29.
Woo!